This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, saving your day from boredom with the best podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, nerds. I'm Mark Weber, and you're listening to A Graphic Conversation, the bi-weekly podcast where we read, discuss, and review the best, and hopefully not the worst, graphic novels. I'm joined, as I always am, by good friend, fellow man-child, Ricky Widmer.
How's it going, everybody?
And for this episode, which would be episode 25, we read...
But who's counting, right?
I try my best.
Who's really counting?
I try my best to count. We read Daredevil, The Man Without Fear. First time we've gone into Daredevil. And neither one of us are really Daredevil aficionados. We don't really
we gotta
pay
say
that
the
much
whole
attention.
we gotta say the whole reason that we are diving into Daredevil is because the Netflix series is dropping.
Which hopefully you'll be watching all of
Yep.
in one single day very soon, because it all releases out at one time.
Well, and I mean, for me, Daredevil, and like you said, this is the first time we're diving into Daredevil. For me, the main, influence from my childhood that kind of exposed me to Daredevil was the Ben Affleck movie.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that good. That's why I kind of
wasn't.
feel like that movie and maybe the Elektra movie that came after it, it kind of you know what? A lot of kids, especially our age, I'm 25, you're 24, 23?
Yes, 24.
You just turned 24.
I did. Just last month.
Our generation doesn't... I don't feel like there's so many guys and gals that like Daredevil.
No.
Maybe because of that movie. Not like the Batmans, the Supermans, the Spider-Man movies that we've seen, all the Marvel movies. There are now Hulk fans. Captain America fans that weren't there, all because of the movies.
The discussion I think it was last month, where we talked about the A-listers, the B-listers, and Daredevil, of course, was a B-lister. He might, for a lot of people, slip to a C-lister because of the fact that that movie did just ruin Daredevil.
Yeah, well, and I'm hoping that this Netflix series kind of does what...
Does some justice.
Well, it's not that. It's what the CW's kind of bringing to Green Arrow and The Flash, because... The Flash was a guy where everyone's like, oh, I like The Flash, but he's not going to be good for his own movie. So the CW's like, fine, we'll make a TV series. Green Arrow, on the other hand, is a guy where most people see him as, like you said, one of the B-listers, but now because of Arrow, there's a lot of Green Arrow fans out there.
Yeah, definitely. And people, that's one of those shows for superhero shows, not that there's that many of them, but man, that probably is the darling. That one's the one that people
Arrow?
point to. Yeah. That's the one that knocks it out.
I love Arrow.
So for Daredevil, though, we read The Man Without Fear. And let me give you guys a quick little description here. This, of course, written by the great Frank Miller. Matt Murdock was raised by a single father, an over-the-hill prize fighter with one last chance to make it good. A chance that will cost him his life. Taunted and tormented by children while growing up, Matt's life was irrevocably altered after he was blinded by radioactive materials while saving the life of an old man. The payoff? An unbreakable will and a keen intelligence, helping focus the super senses he was blessed with during the accident. His story is one of love, pain, disappointment, and strength.
Well, and I know I'm just listening to you kind of read that description, and I kind of think of the one thing that you always make fun of, especially with Marvel, and DC's kind of at fault with it too.
They're all bad at it, yeah.
Why does there need to be a chemical spill?
Where is all this radioactive material coming from? I mean, for a lot of these, of course, are Cold War heroes, so radioactivity is a big thing. But I love, of course, let me first say, the way this podcast works, we're going to be in spoiler-free zone. There are no spoilers. Eventually, we will take the break. We will warn you so you can pause it if you want to read it.
Is that too
then we go into
spoilery?
spoiler.
Is that too spoilery?
Well, no, it's in the description.
Okay.
Radioactive materials.
Okay.
But yeah, this one is very much, and this is a 90s. These comics come from the 90s. So this is very much like, oh no, radioactive material is here. Which is one of my things I make fun of with superheroes. Why can't we just give them unique stories. And there's a specific complaint I have, but we'll get into it.
Well, you're not going to get into it right now?
It's too spoiler.
Okay.
Too spoiler.
And the one thing that I think of is, here's the one thing, and this has nothing to do with the story, that it's just the comic at all. Because this one is not, it kind of reminded me, I'm talking about the artwork, reminded me of maybe a little bit more cartoony colored version of Sin City.
Yeah.
Because we read A Dame to Kill For when that movie came out. You can go check that out on YouTube's, the SoundCloud, maybe on there. That was a while ago. But it reminds me of that style. And I mean, the only difference is I think the reason why it's maybe colored and it's got a little bit of, like I said, that cartoony twist is because A Dame to Kill For was written and the artist was Frank Miller. He did both. But in this one, it was Frank Miller did the story, and then you have John Romita Jr., he was the artist. So you have someone other than Frank Miller doing it. I feel like Frank Miller's influence was maybe why it kind of looks like Sin City, but Romita Jr. put his own spin on it.
Yeah, and I actually really like the art for
But
this.
you like Sin City, so you would like the art.
I love my Sin City, that's for sure.
Am I wrong, though? That's maybe a reason why you like it, because you like Sin City. You were the one that was more excited for Sin City when we read it.
Yeah, it's definitely possible, especially, I mean, obviously, Frank Miller's not the kind of guy that just gets artists thrown at him. He can take his pick of the litter. He's definitely going to go with something like that. But it definitely, Hell's Kitchen is not that far off from Sin City. They're very similar places. So it makes sense that the art would be the same for it. Now, here's the ever important question, Ricky. Who is this graphic novel for? Who's going to like it?
I'm kind of confused here when I was reading it because I feel like with the message that it's sending, this origin story, it sends an anti-bullying message. It sends a kind of, stand up to your guns and don't let someone pick on you. It also sends out a message of help other people. So I feel like maybe, this is centered for the kids, but it's kind of like, I think of it as like the cartoon shows that we watch where you watch as a kid, you love it for its own reasons. You love the superhero because he's saving people, he's cool. But then you look back at it when you're like 19, 20, a little bit older, and you go, oh, wow. There are some things here that I might have missed when I was a child.
You realize that Walt Disney put penises everywhere.
Yep. Or like SpongeBob. Just SpongeBob.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all I have to say.
I think there's a lot of, you put it pretty well. It's kind of confusing because you do have all these things like, for the kids, it really is, stand up to those bullies or, keep your head down, do your schoolwork. It's all going to be okay because everything works out very well for Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
In relation to his studying.
Well, and I feel like with Matt Murdock, and I don't feel like this is going too spoilery.
But knowing Ricky, it will be.
I'm not going to go too far into it. He had a choice. He had the choice to go on the path of good or the path of bad. I mean, early on, he could have been a hooligan or a good guy.
Yeah.
Luckily, he ended up being a good guy.
He follows the rules.
Yes.
He follows the laws, to quote this book.
Yep.
But, at the same time,
Which, I mean, come on. That is like if every
That's heroes,
every superhero has that one thing where it's like, okay, that's his flaw.
It's the fork
or
in the
that's
road.
where the morals get in. Like for Batman, it's I don't kill. So the Joker can do anything. Try to kill me, try to do this, try to do that. I'm not going to kill you.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have, but I'm not. It's kind of like when I played through Arkham City again. It's on the YouTube channel. At the end, because this game's been older, so I don't care if I spoil it for you now because it's been years since it came out. At the very end, the Joker breaks the vial of what's the word? The antidote for the sickness, and Batman just looks at him and goes, "Hey, I was going to give it to you. I was going to save you." And look at like you did this to yourself, kind of a thing. That's Matt Murdock's though. Follow the rules, follow the laws, and really that's his superhero flaw. I would say follows him to a T.
And to go back to the question for who's it's for, though, I do not. If it's me understanding what I just read, I would not want my children to read this because it is very mature.
It's Frank Miller.
It's very, very mature.
It's Frank Miller.
And you
high
read
school.
it now.
I would let my high
school's
schooler
fine.
read it.
Read it now, and you're like, how could I possibly miss all this? This is so messed up.
No, but
of course, you probably did miss all of it.
Well, and that's understandable because, I mean, maybe it's because we've read Sin City, A Dame to Kill For.
And it's all, like, this stuff is blatantly obvious to us. It's not going over our heads.
And not even that. I mean, Frank Miller, the one that I read that he did was Batman. Oh, was it Year One? I think it might have been Year One. I'm going to double check that. But he also did a Batman story where it's like, oh, and that was a little bit of a darker Batman. Yeah, it was Year One. Mm-hmm. Where even the art for that Batman one was just a little bit darker than what you're used to seeing Batman be.
Yeah. And Ricky loves his Batman.
I do. I love my Batman.
So for me, I mean, I would have trouble giving this to, some kid and being like, here, read this.
I'm talking, when I say kid, though, I mean, with me being a teacher, when I say kid, I even mean high schooler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the high schoolers are fine.
Maybe not a freshman, maybe sophomore and up.
I don't know. It's a tough decision to make. Maybe that 15 is a pretty good break.
I'm not a parent, though, so don't quote me.
Not that you know of, Ricky.
No, not yet.
Not that you know of.
Not yet.
So, is there anything that we need to say before we get into spoiler mode, Ricky? Anything you want to say spoiler-free?
This one had it's like if someone took, the way I would describe this to someone, if they're like, you know what, why should I read this? Give me a kind of a pitch. Someone took, and this someone being Frank Miller, took the typical Marvel origin and put kind of a darker twist to it. Mm-hmm. Put in these little dark snippets. These things where it's like, you kind of put in there, because Matt Murdock's life is not it's not an easy one. And like you said, Sin City, Hell's Kitchen, they're kind of similar. And I feel like if you grow up in you can call it a ghetto, you could call it a
just low income in general.
Low income area, and it's called Hell's Kitchen. You know that good things are not going on in Hell's Kitchen.
No, it depends what side you're on.
Well, and I feel like when you have something called Hell's Kitchen, you need that story writer, that artist that's going to depict it well enough. Mm-hmm. You can't have it be too nice, too cheery. You can't have it look like some of the artists we've seen, like the artists for Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. Yeah, it was a different story. Yes, did it have a lot of killing? Mm-hmm. Yes, it did. But I feel like that kind of cartooniness for Deadpool does not fit.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I do think this artwork could have been darker. I think this could go darker than it does.
Like black and white?
No, not black and white, but it's still a little cartoony. I mean, it is a comic book.
Well, and I feel that's just Romita Jr. bringing out his style into it. Because he's done Kick-Ass. Yeah. He's done some Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. And it definitely has that same type of look to it. The one thing I will also add, of course, before we do get to spoiler mode, I do want to say that I think both of us didn't have high expectations coming into this. I don't think either one of us were really...
I didn't really know what to expect because, like, Daredevil to me, like I said, my last impression was the Daredevil movie, and I kind of just... Daredevil's never been a serious guy for me, but after reading this, my opinions have changed on good old Daredevil.
Yeah, definitely.
Good old Matty Murdock.
Yeah, without giving any reviews or ratings or anything away, I think we both were very pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
With this one. So
it's a good read.
With that being said, we definitely highly encourage you guys to read it. If you
haven't already,
press pause, do it. If you have not, press pause right now, and you can come back when you're done. If you don't care and you just want to be here for the conversation, that's fine, because we are about to enter spoiler mode. With that being said, let's do it. Matt Murdock, young kid. I do like that it starts out the young kid. You know, he doesn't like, or all the kids don't like him. They make fun of him. He's looked at as the good kid. But you do see him teeter that line a little bit. For example, right away he steals the police stick, baton, whatever you want to call it. He steals the baton from the cop, runs off, does his own thing. So I do like that it sets up immediately like, hey, he kind of struggles with this a little bit. He goes out after dark when his dad tells him not to. He doesn't study.
Not just that. That scene you're talking about where he steals the police baton.
The magical baton.
Well, this is what I feel, and this is my kind of what I read into it, my kind of hypothesis. When you look at that scene, the officer, Leibowitz is his name? Leibowitz. He's talking to the kid saying, hey, don't do this, don't do that. Well, Matt Murdock kind of steals it as a, hey, look at what I can do. I'm going to make you cheer. And after they, oh, yeah, go, go, go. Woo, you're stealing from the cops. And, I mean, that's why I feel, and I don't know why I don't know what he expected the kids to do because they do bully him.
He expected them to love him at this point.
Well, I'm going to jump so far in with this kind of pull-out to bring it back here.
Uh-huh.
They call him Daredevil.
They sure do.
And they bully him and call him Daredevil. They call him the devil part because that's what his dad was. He was kind of the heel early on. Like, his dad is a boxer. It was kind of like, you know what? I'm not gonna make it unless I become this personality. Mm-hmm. Wore a get-up that had a D on it.
Nice D, yeah.
He was called
he had
the
little
devil.
Horns too.
And I feel like these kids, because kids are smart. When they want to make fun of you, they are clever with their nicknames and stuff. And I feel like they took that because it was kind of silly and like, okay, we can make fun of them for it. Plus, if you're doing that, you're kind of being a daredevil yourself, like with the law. So let's just call him Daredevil. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you're trying to do that to get on their good side. Like, oh yeah, they're cheering for me. But then they go ahead and make fun of you. So I feel like, yeah, you can be mad.
It's a no-win situation.
Well, you can be mad about that, but you're kind of putting it on yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a lot of kids do dumb things that they think is going to make people happy.
Kids are always going to do stupid stuff.
Yeah, and they think like, hey, this will get rid of those bullies and things like that, and it doesn't work out. Like, because all these no-win situations for a lot of kids in school and stuff like that. So this is perfectly that. But I mean, we can get pretty much right into what's important for Murdock here. His dad ends up having to work for the mob as an enforcer.
Yeah, getting the protection money.
Yep. If he doesn't, they're going to kill not only him, because he doesn't care if they kills him. He's got nothing to live for anyways, but they're going to hurt the son. And that's what he cares about. So as it goes on a little bit, there's the one moment where this changes everything for Matt Murdock. And this is one of those things where I get that it has to be kind of quick paced, but I feel like it was like...
What?
Well, I'm talking right here about when his dad hits him.
Oh, okay.
This is the first big thing that happens for Matt Murdock. He's all happy, like, hey, I stood up to that bully. I, was gonna poke him back or hit him back, whatever it was. And then his dad goes, no, damn it, smacks him in the face. Literally, like, it looks like he's punching his son in the face. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing immediately, him kind of coming to the realization of, my dad hit me. That was wrong. I can't do things like that. I need to study the rules. I need to study the laws. I'm going to follow the rules. I'm going to follow the laws. To me, I feel like that's very, very quick for this kid to come to this realization and completely change. Mm-hmm. But I get it. To be honest, and I'm speaking from kind of like my own experiences, I was never a kid like Murdock. Of course, I didn't grow up in a situation like Hell's Kitchen. I grew up in... Did my family have their troubles? Of course we did. But I never grew up in, like, a broken home. I grew up with a nice, complete family. I was very lucky. Whereas I felt like the kids that I knew at school who maybe grew up with, oh, I don't have a father in my life. Oh, I don't have a mother in my life. I have both my mom and my dad, but they're separated type of thing. The kids that had the rougher life in school learned how to, I don't want to say the word mature faster, but they kind of did. Because, you're kind of forced to.
Well, yeah, and they kind of thought things differently, kind of exactly how Murdock did. Because Murdock's been living in Hell's Kitchen. He knows what's going on with his dad, with him having to be the enforcer for the Fixer. Mm-hmm. I wonder why they call him the Fixer. That we're going to get to that probably in a bit. But it forces him to grow up and say, hey, you know what? And by doing that, he can come to this realization that, hey, you know what? Dad hit me. It was wrong. Therefore, Dad was wrong. Yeah, kind of like a three-prong approach.
Sure.
Of, he hit me. It's wrong. he's wrong.
And I don't want to do this. I'm going to just follow the rules. But this is the big moment for Matt Murdock where he decides rules, laws. That's me. So, of course, it goes through him
He builds up his fault of the superhero at that point.
Yeah, it goes through him, being teased. Then, this is it. This is the big moment here. Old man who happens to be blind. I like that it's the old man who happens to be blind, too. It's a nice little segue into him. The foreshadowing, I guess I should say. He's going to go save him. But this is so, superhero cliche. There's a truck driving through Hell's Kitchen, an extremely populated area. And this truck looks like it's a farm truck. It's just literally 2x4s. I mean, they're probably longer than 2x4s. But planks of wood holding back radioactive material contained in barrels, which then falls on Matt Murdock and he becomes blind from the radioactive materials. I mean, I get it. So superhero, but it's just one of those things where you kind of have to roll your eyes and be like, oh, come on, guys.
Well, not just that. I mean, if you take what happened with the radioactive material out of it.
He should probably be dead, I think.
Well, he should be dead, but it kind of shapes this is the kind of guy Matt Murdock is. How many people do you know, and of course this is a graphic novel, I'm talking about real life, would have seen that and not have done anything? This is the superhero aspect in him of, I'm going to do something, and it ended up, he lost his vision for it. But you know what? It was noble, and that is what built what Daredevil became at the end.
Funny thing about the spewing muck is what they refer to it as at first, before they, of course, call it radioactive material or whatever. But those barrels, XXX. Just putting that out there, that muck in the barrels labeled XXX. But yeah, also another thing, I just think it's, when you do see the radioactive material on his eyes, I just find it a little funny, as it's just like green blobs on his eyes. But Ricky,
well, and this is, I mean, every superhero has to have a tragedy.
Sure.
Batman had his parents' death. Superman had my home planet got blown to smithereens.
That's kind of disappointing.
You had Spider-Man lost his uncle after they had a fight.
I think, though, that him being blinded, I do not think is his tragic event. His tragic event is what his dad went through. And him witnessing what his dad goes through. That's what his tragic event is.
This is the start of it, though. And I mean, Daredevil's kind of a unique superhero because I would kind of agree with you. The dad dying is,
I think it's more of the traumatic effect. Not necessarily his dad dying, because I think that's a blessing. Everything his dad had to go through and how he hated his life.
He hated his life, and then how it ended in the end. He didn't get the noble death. I don't know how you get the noble death with what Jack Murdock had to do, but there's also superheroes that don't go through the tragic event. Like Captain America, I'm trying to think. I don't remember.
Captain America's tragic event is witnessing World War II.
No,
I'm making a joke in that case, but there's really he's too good to have a.
But there's some superheroes where they started to go, hey, you know what? We're not going to have them go through a traumatic or tragic event.
Gotta change it up.
We're just going to have them, overcome some adversity. And for Captain America, obviously his adversity was dealing with the new world. After being frozen for some time, he got thrown into the future. He had to overcome that. You have Tony Stark. I'm trying to think, does he really have a tragic event that deals with him? All of his stuff is just
not really.
Everything with Tony Stark is just
internal.
Dealing with his own ego, his own he basically falls apart.
Yeah.
Because he just can't deal with what's going on inside.
I mean, I do think that a nice thing for
the Hulk. Look at that, radioactive, and you got to overcome that.
I think a nice
thing. The Hulk, I think, is the most real comparison to this.
Yeah, for the radioactivity here, or for his blindness, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
I do like that it kind of has that encouragement of hey, everybody's got their flaws, everybody's got their bad things that happen. You just kind of have to accept it and embrace it.
Got to overcome it.
Yeah, embrace what you have, wear it as, he uses it for a little different description later, why he takes on the name Daredevil, because he wears it as a badge. He takes those bad things and he says, you know what? It's not so bad after all. I'm better than that. I'm going to use it to make me stronger. And even him being blinded does work with that. He has the moment where he wants to die. And the nun comes in here. And he at that point understands that, you know what? I'm going to survive this. And I'm going to be better. I'm going to be stronger.
Can I ask you something?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the art between just flipping through, and this is like the panel where you look at Matt Murdock compared to Stick, who's the blind old, I'm going to call him the blind old sage.
Mm-hmm.
And he teaches Murdock everything. You look at Daredevil, or Matt Murdock, whatever you want to call him, the art of how he is drawn. Very solid colors. He actually looks like, maybe like we said, that cartoony. You look at Stick, and he's more of like horizontal lines, kind of more like, actually like we took his art style right out of Sin City, and I kind of find it cool because it kind of plays to their personalities a little bit. I don't know what you're thinking there. Do you think Frank Miller told Romita, or they had a conversation where it's like, hey, you know what? We got to make Stick look different because of the type of character he is. Let's go more with this style.
I mean, there's definitely something significant to it for sure.
Because he looks kind of like grainy,
I think he looks kind of like almost
like he's in the shadows.
Yeah, that, or like that he's not real. To be honest, is kind of how it looked to me at first. Like
you're saying he's not? You think
no,
he's not?
No, I think he's definitely real. But I think there's something to it where it's either not natural, not real.
He does have powers.
Yeah, he does have those. So it's like it's an interesting question there. For it. And I don't know. I mean, Stick's a cool guy.
Well,
he shows up and just kind of... I mean, he already knew this was going to happen. Because he showed up before the accident and was watching Murdoch. So, like, he knows some things. He knows this is going to happen. He comes in. He knows it's his job because there's two adepts out there. And this is one of those things where I wonder what would be... and why I don't think it's as important for the blindness to be the traumatic event. Because Matt Murdock and Elektra... are the two adepts. That's what they call them. The two adepts.
Yep.
They are, I guess, predisposed to having these abilities. So maybe if he was born blind, I think he still would have these powers. I think that's a correct assumption to make.
I feel like the blindness isn't the key because Elektra's not blind.
No. Well, that's what I'm saying. He would have that anyways.
Yeah.
I do think the blindness helps out improve his other senses a little bit better. He
Well,
would
yeah,
still have
that's
the same athletic abilities.
That's supposed to be what it's like. That's the key with Daredevil.
He embraces the blindness.
He can use like his scent better, his hearing better, and
he can taste the air.
And I mean, the one thing before we get into Elektra though, the one scene I want to talk about is when he starts going after the guys that killed his father.
Yeah.
One of the scenes that kind of made me not a little queasy, but it was like, ooh, that's gotta effing hurt, was when he's going against whoever the big guy is. I can't remember his name. Let's see if I can see it here. Slade. It's the big guy, boxer. He's in the boxing ring, and he comes up to him, goes to stance, and Daredevil kick right in the knee. Let's invert that knee and just pop your kneecap out the back. I saw that went, oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's gotta hurt.
For sure. I do like this moment, though, for Daredevil. I mean, this is a really cool... I like the... Not necessarily the flawed hero. Hold on one second, though.
Okay.
I like when those heroes have those human moments of, like, I might break. He's got he pops out the guy's knee. He's got the pennies. He puts them in the hand.
Say, the roll of pennies.
Smacks them with it.
Oh,
what accidentally kills that girl.
I don't want to say thug, but what a, like, old, like, street thing to do. I don't have money for these brass knuckles. I'm just going to put a roll of pennies in my hand and pummel your face with it.
Enough. Yeah, I mean, I
those knuckles don't break.
This real moment here of, like, at any point, he's going to kill somebody.
Well, and
he does.
And like you mentioned, when he kills the girl, that, like, whoom, sends him into, like, I'm going to say a panic because he didn't mean to kill her.
And then Stick is not happy. Stick says, you know what?
You betrayed me. Yeah, you're done.
He failed the test.
One strike, you're gone.
Yeah, only one.
Slade and Spider-Man, they're on the similar page. Everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one. And he's done. So, I mean, you would essentially think, all right, well, sucks for Daredevil. He now goes to college. He's going to live his normal life. Once again, what's he studying, Ricky? Law.
Yeah.
He's studying law.
Wants to be a lawyer.
And, just little moments here and there of him helping out the guy being bullied.
Before that, though, what's even more mysterious? When Stick is talking to the other, I'm going to call it the other adept because I'm assuming they are too.
The nice little shadow.
You don't really see much of who he's talking to. You just kind of see kind of reminds me of that, is it the fighting gym Pokemon guy with the fighting pants, no shirt? He's sitting down, crisscross applesauce to be politically correct, and he's just kind of sitting there. He's got the hair like that gym leader too. Sort of reminded me of. Kind of style-wise.
Yeah, sure. I don't remember exactly what you're talking about. But
You don't remember that? You don't remember the fighting gym?
No, I don't. This is a long time ago.
You gotta go back and play your Pokemon, Mark.
I have Pokemon, the new one.
Gotta go. No, not the new one. I'm talking like red, blue, maybe
Yeah,
yellow.
I don't have that stuff
I'll give
anymore.
you a yellow.
I went from red all the way to the new one. Nothing in between.
Really? You
for
didn't
Pokemon.
play Fire Red? Didn't
No.
play Silver and Gold?
Only red in the new one. Y is the one I have.
Okay.
But anyways, to get back to Daredevil.
He's in college.
He's living the party
and
life.
what about the thing he does, the guy bullying Froggy, and he kind of goes up to him and says, I'm going to beat the crap out of you.
And I love the way he does it, where he just kind of leaves him out in the cold.
Humiliates him.
And it is enough. It really is.
Kind of to show, hey, it doesn't feel good, does it, asshat?
Yeah. I'm going to bully you. You want to bully my friend? I bully you. Because he has the other thing, too, where you're the whole thing is about bullies, really. And him just constantly taking down bullies. But then he, of course, sort of meets Elektra. He follows Elektra.
What are your thoughts on Elektra?
For what this is, a 90s comic, she's exactly what she's supposed to be. She's this girl who's very powerful. She's as of the 90s, she's a sexy girl. She wouldn't be sexy in our style as much anymore, probably. But I like Elektra in this because she's very torn. She shows off a lot of issues. She's talking about the voices she hears. It's causing trouble in her life. She wants this love, but she can't have it. Her issues are tearing them away from her and Matt Murdock. And they also, of course, they tease later with her possibly being evil and being, lost to these, the bad side, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what they called it. And it's good.
Because, you said, they already talked about it and was we don't want to lose Murdoch to that.
And when they get together, you have that moment of this is going to be bad. You know it's going to be bad. It's not going to end well. And I like that now it's peaceful.
It kind of reminded me of the Batman-Catwoman relationship, if they actually could have a relationship. Because they did kind of have one until Elektra said, hey, you know what? I got to cut it off. I got to really cut it off because my dad almost killed you. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I like that Elektra kind of outsmarts Matt Murdock multiple times in this situation of hey, because it does go. One of his rules are don't get emotionally involved, and that's a good rule for all superheroes to follow. And every time he gets emotionally involved with Elektra, and every time it kind of screws him over. And that's what messes him up. Where he ends up getting arrested. He ends up jumping after her when she jumps off a cliff, but turns out she didn't really jump off the cliff. Everything did not work for him, and foreshadowing, right there. So if I'm reading this right now, as this is the only one I'm reading. I'm a little disappointed that we can't get more of Elektra, but obviously it's an origin story. We can't. Because when it comes to Daredevil, you want more
I feel
Elektra.
there's going to be more of Elektra.
Oh, obviously in the next few. But right now, when I read Daredevil as someone who's not a big Daredevil fan, I want Kingpin, lots of Elektra. That's all I want.
For this origin story, I feel the thing Frank Miller kind of wanted to do was I want to introduce Elektra. I want to make sure that the audience knows their kind of relationship, then I want her to go away because the real relationship you got to get in an origin story is the villain needs the arch villain, the main villain needs to rise. And at that point, Kingpin, it was one of those things where it's hey, you know what? And I knew it was going to happen because you've got the original crime lord, and he's sitting there and he just goes, no, not going to do it. Nope, not going to run it that way.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you know what? Give me a massage. Then you just see these big hands and then just snap.
So, and I love it too because he's talking about how he trusts him. Like, you're the only person I can trust, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, don't do it, man. Don't do it. Don't trust this guy. My silent companion or whatever he called him. Like, it's going to end badly, dude. And it did.
And Kingpin basically took over and said, okay, this is how we're going to run shit now.
Yeah, and he's basically saying, you know what? It's done. And he immediately changes things. Things immediately change for Kingpin's better. But, of course, Matt Murdock's worse in this case. And probably they change for the worse for pretty much everybody, except for Kingpin. Especially if you are, I don't know, a child. Because the whole weird sex slave thing that happened. I mean, if they want us to hate, we already dislike Kingpin, but they want us to really hate this guy. Add in some child.
You know what? I always saw
sex slave industry.
I always saw Kingpin as just the normal mob boss.
No,
like I mean,
worse.
He's twisted, but like to me, it's like that's a mob boss.
Hey,
mob bosses are supposed to be
Ricky,
that twisted.
The girl, do what you want with her. Like when you say that, it's like, are you kidding me?
That is what Kingpin is.
You hate him,
That's
though.
what Kingpin's supposed to be, though.
And it is the complete opposite from the past of saying, hey, we have rules we will follow still. And Kingpin's saying, nope.
No, let's
put
it this way, though. It's like I talked about earlier. You're in a place called Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
I expect that from a guy who runs Hell's Kitchen.
Oh, for sure. I'm not going against it. I'm just saying it's it's hardcore. This guy is a bad
Kingpin is no
man.
Gordon Ramsay.
No.
Not going to swear at you.
Well, I mean,
he's going to say do whatever you want with her.
If I got Kingpin there and I got Gordon Ramsay and one of these guys is going to save me, I think I might go to Kingpin, to be honest. I'm a little scared of Gordon.
No Gordon in Mark's Cuban Kitchen?
I don't know. I don't think I want him in my kitchen. He's going to be really angry at me. But, I mean, yeah, it's just like oh, God, you know this is a bad, bad man.
Bad MFA.
Yeah, pretty much. He's a BAMF. But maybe, I don't know.
Not a BAMF is like a good BAMF.
Yeah.
Like this guy's twisted.
Yeah, no. You
and
don't
like
wanna
we
deal
get
with
that with Mickey, was that her name?
Yep, Mickey.
Kind of the young girl that Murdock
She's young
meets,
Matt Murdock.
has a huge crush on Maddie.
In the way that, a 12-year-old would.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean,
man. You say that and it's like, okay, I kind of get it, but at the same time I'm like, no, he's so much older than you. No,
you had those young crushes on older people, like celebrities, teachers maybe.
Celebrities. One teacher maybe when I was younger.
See?
But I
There you
mean,
go.
most of them were, kids my age.
Sure, but every young kid has that one. Everybody has that, like, their, the celebrity crush. Or if there was that person in their lives who was kind of cool. Like the older neighbor. Things like that. That's basically what Matt Murdock is.
You know what's the one thing I will say I love about the whole Mickey Murdock thing was he's back at the gym. That's where he finds Mickey. And he goes, you know what? I'm not going to check to see. I'm like, I wonder if the old baton's still there. Nah, I'm not going to check. It'd be childish of me. Then Mickey gets taken. First thing he does, break into that locker. Where's my stick?
Oh, I need my stick. I want to ask a question, though. Who dressed Mickey up? Because you notice, like, she's, dressed in her jeans, her shirt, her hat. Then the next thing you know, she's in this weird pink dress.
Well, okay.
Is that,
think about what they were going to do.
Yeah, I know. Like, is that, like...
They dressed her up in that.
It's weird.
That's what they dressed her up in because apparently these sickos, that's how they want to see them. And yeah, I call them sickos because they're sickos.
It's I noticed that when I saw it with the weird dress, and I was like, because that's a super, like, childish dress. Hey, it looks like something you dress a 6-year-old in.
Well, you know what?
That makes it worse.
Some guys are sickos.
Yeah, that makes it worse. Like, they do such a good job of making you hate these guys.
And I think that's the one thing, especially Frank Miller's the guy that can get that. Frank Miller's great at making people sickos and making you hate them because they're fucking sickos.
Yeah, great skill to have. Yeah, it's just like they do such a great job at making you hate these people. Which, I mean, that's the goal in this case for sure. But Matt Murdock, Daredevil, basically fully embracing it now. Still working on his own here, and he's going to save Mickey because he has to save Mickey.
Well, he's got to.
Yeah, exactly. He got to save anybody, but he's got to save Mickey, who he's been kind of training and kind of helping out.
How about the one scene where, like, Kingpin's right-hand man has, he has
the gun
Mickey.
To her head?
Well, he has Mickey, And then he gets to the taxi, and the taxi driver's like, come on, the meter's running. Bam, bullet between the eyes. Get out of the cab.
And
the ruthlessness.
Yeah, and Mickey's very much like, you just killed that guy with nothing. Well, it was nothing. That is the perfect example of Larks was his name, I believe.
Yep, Larks. That was his name.
Where this is his life. He does not care about any of this.
Well, he's Kingpin's right-hand man. What did you expect?
And I also, of course, enjoy Matt Murdock driving a car. Hilarious having a blind person.
You know what? Let's put it this way. When I got to this part in the story, I was like, you know what? Good. He's going to drive after him. And then driving that car. And then I keep reading, and it was right after the panel that said crash, and then it hit me, wait a second. Why is a blind man driving a car?
It's like, and he even says like, "Oh, I'm not good with cars." But
I think he said something like, "You know what? This probably isn't a good idea, but I have to do it."
But let me just go for it.
Yeah.
Might as well, right? Yeah,
might as well.
Oh, I love it. It's not much of a driver as he crashes the car. Like, yeah, I would. Well, not.
I'm not much of a driver.
Now, I do like, of course, the repeated line of "I don't want to kill you, let her go," and he continuously says this as he's saying "I don't want to kill you," and he's saying "This is my rule. I follow the rules. I will get you arrested. I'm not going to kill you."
Daredevil, you're talking.
So give up. Yeah, Daredevil. Then happens my favorite part of probably this whole thing. The magical stick.
Shot 1, deflected. Shot 2, deflected.
And I'll give you okay, maybe you can deflect it. But he deflects it back, the second one, I believe, right between the eyes.
Mystic powers, man.
Just kills him. Yeah. I mean, really, he's an adept. So he can... And not only is he an adept, but the stick is adept, too. If only Officer Leibowitz knew the power of that stick that he had, his baton. But yeah, just deflects bullets, great, kills the Larks. And I like it too because it's like, okay, this was the guy we thought was really bad, Larks. Nope, expendable. He's gone. Probably going to have worse guys coming this way soon. And yeah, I mean, is there anything else that you really think?
Right after that. The scene right after that where it's, I was going to bring up Foggy and Murdoch are sitting at the bar and they're like, Murdoch's like, yeah, you know what? I'm not going back to Philly or Boston
he
or
got fired.
New York or where.
Boston.
No, yeah, it was Boston. Wherever he was going. And he's like, hey, let's start our own. Let's start our own firm and help people. Yeah.
In college.
And the whole scene where Foggy goes, you know what? Let's flip a coin. Heads I win, tails you lose. No, he didn't say that exactly. He said heads, my name's first.
Well, he asked him to call it.
Tails is yours.
Heads.
And Matt calls it, and you just see Stick catch it. Because it bounces past Matt, because, he's blind. He didn't see the quarter fly by his face.
Of course. I don't know why Foggy's like, catch! Have fun.
And Stick catches it, says something to him.
Stick, who's also blind, catches it.
Yeah, watch your back, and then goes, by the way, it was Tails. Never get too cocky. Yeah. I was like, oh, it's a great scene.
On the same page where they flip it is probably my favorite panel in the whole thing, is when he's on that building and it's raining. And that is a Sin City-like look. Not quite Sin City, but very close. Where it's everything's black on the one side and then just all white.
Yep.
Like gray rain. I love that. It's so good.
Well, and you put that with the kind of line that they put there. The boy from Hell's Kitchen has come home.
And Hell's Kitchen is not... Well, Kingpin's not happy about it. The rest of Hell's Kitchen is thrilled, I'm sure.
But I mean, even after that, and then it's just the perfect ending where it's kind of like you get that... To me, this would be either one episode or maybe 2 episodes. This ending, the last 2 pages for me, I read it on a Kindle. It kind of felt like the typical ending when you're watching a series and the hero after a few episodes finally becomes the hero, where he's kind of doing his thing. You see him running. You don't get a good look.
You always got to have the hero running.
And he's narrating stuff while he's running, doing his action, going somewhere.
Run.
And then you just, bam, see the costume. Because he says, the costume, probably a good idea. Sewed it myself. God only knows what it looks like. And then, bam, you see him in the Daredevil costume.
That line is great. God only knows what it looks like. That is so great.
Well, and it's great because he looks like a devil. His name's Daredevil. And he's saying, well, God only knows what it looks like.
Well, plus he's blind.
Yeah, that too.
So he really does not know what this thing looks like.
So did himself.
He did. And you know what? He did a really good job for sewing this thing himself. I want to see, like, the prototypes where it's not so good, where he really messed up. And he's
think Mickey helped him?
This doesn't feel right.
Think Mickey helped him?
No, he asked for no help. But I will say one thing. Right off the bat, in I think issue 4 or issue 5, especially because he introduces himself as Daredevil, immediately Mickey knows who Daredevil is.
Yeah.
She knows, Matt Murdock, got it, boom.
Well,
superheroes always mess it up.
Well,
always
not just
mess up the
that.
secret
I mean,
identity.
in the last 2 pages, it's like in between his like talking, you see Daredevil. Yeah. Talk, Daredevil.
Plus,
talk,
of course.
Daredevil. Talk, Daredevil.
Kids, I can assume kids probably won't put it together from the kids who used to bully him. But Elektra, right off the bat, goes, I know who he is. I dated him. Matt Murdock. That is dangerous. You don't want somebody who might come at you knowing your secret identity. That's really dangerous.
Yeah, but I mean, Catwoman knew Bruce was Batman.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm just saying it's dangerous. I'm not critiquing it. I'm just saying it's very dangerous. Bad things are coming your way, Matt Murdock. Be careful.
Well, and I mean, that's the romantic flaw of superheroes.
For sure. One thing I got to ask, Ricky, since we're on the topic of senses here.
Oh, okay.
If you were to have to give up one of your senses, of course the other ones are going to be better, but you have to give up one of your senses. Which one are you going to give up? Or which one are you okay with losing?
I don't know if I want sight. Either sight or smell. I'm kind of leaning more towards smell, but at the same time, I mean, I feel like I could give up my sight. The only two, on the other hand, the only two I cannot give up, which is an easier question, I'm not giving up my hearing. I will give up, let's put it this way. If you told me either give up your hearing or give up all of your other senses, I'm keeping my damn hearing. Because it's kind of hard to be a musician without your hearing.
Yeah.
Also,
it definitely would be.
Also, my touch. Can't really, to me, play instruments without having that.
It would be
sense.
very, very, very difficult. I think personally,
especially an instrument like guitar.
Yeah, that
or
would
piano.
be very difficult. How much pressure am I putting on this thing? Is it going well? I definitely, I'm a little different than you. I would no way be willing to give up my sight. Would not be willing to.
What
do
about
it.
taste? Do you really need taste?
Taste is my answer. That is what I'm willing to give up. Because think about it this way: you lose your taste. It's probably, I think, smell.
Someone could.
I don't want to
poison
lose
you
my
easily,
cell either.
Though.
Sure, but someone could easily poison you while you can taste it too. I think taste, because my thought is I'm an extremely picky eater. I know this is going a little bit the opposite direction. I'm a picky eater, so I can eat anything now, and I will be just fine because I'm not going to taste it. Because I'm always that person who goes, yep, consistency's weird, or there's that one little taste that's a little too sweet. I don't know about it. Now I can eat anything, and I can make money off of it. $5, I'll eat that cockroach.
Well, and that's why I like smell to me because, well, I don't have to smell.
You can be a garbage man.
I could be a garbage man, but also at the same time, I feel like the only bad part is if there's a gas leak, I can't smell it.
Yeah, you're gone. Yep. I think there's too many things that I like the smell of, and I think I can lose when it comes to food. Sometimes I'd rather smell the food than taste the food. I know that sounds a little weird, but I think the smell is more
now that you say that,
infatuated.
smell gets me hungrier, though.
And then you can just funnel it all in, and you don't even care. Don't
'Cause
care
you
if it
can't
tastes
taste
good.
it?
Yep. As long as it smells good.
How about we do this? We're getting to that time. I'm going to pop the question at you. What's your rating for Daredevil, the man without fear?
So for this one, it's a little bit interesting. It's a lot better than I would say a lot better. It's better than I expected it to be. I didn't have high expectations coming in.
Pleasant surprise.
Yeah, for sure. Nothing phenomenal, but I think this, out of everything we've read, this might have the best characterization and character development.
Yep, the development was, and I know you mentioned the kind of how Frank Miller gets we're gonna speed through things,
but that was so focused.
But the development was, while all these storylines are racing, the development was steady.
Yeah, and that was done so well. I have to give it a 4. Nothing too spectacular. It does have some minor flaws here and there, but what it does well, it does extremely well.
and I'm on the same page. I'm giving it a 4, mostly because, like I said, with me, 5s are reserved for I'm putting it on a pedestal. These are like the best of the best. No peep shows here. Don't read Peep Show, by the way. Terrible. I'm going to say that every time.
Go ahead and do it.
It'll fall apart in your hands.
It probably will.
But with Daredevil, I mean, this was one where it was a good read, and it wasn't one of those ones where it's like, there's some where it's like, you got to put it down. Like, okay, I got to put this down for a while. I mean, there were times where it's like, I had my phone next to me. So, like, after I'd finish issue 1, I'd put it down, check my phone. Okay, no one texted me, pick it back up kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Or, like, I heard my phone ring. I'm going to put this down after this issue. Who texted me? Besides that, this is one of those ones where it was so, and I think it's because of the character development was so steadied pace. It felt good. It wasn't a long read. It wasn't taxing on you to read. And it was just good all the way around. And it kind of gave me a different kind of an aspect to a superhero that I wasn't really familiar with. It was a good spin. Good spin on Daredevil.
I really think this is the first hero that we've gotten to where neither one of us really knew much going in, or didn't know more than the basic person.
He's a B-lister.
Yeah.
Like you said.
So that was a cool experience to have. But in 2 weeks, everybody, we're going to be reading Morning Glories Volume 4.
Oh, I can't wait. I got to reread 3 to see, like, to just catch up.
Especially because of, for this one, Volume 4, Truants, goes right after the events of PE, Volume 3. Still reeling from the climactic events of PE, the Glories find themselves lost in time and space, confronted by a new group of students who might be even more dangerous than the faculty themselves.
Oh, I remember that.
The Truants. Questions are answered. That's important. Finally wants a question answered.
Hashtag who's David?
And new mysteries emerge as Season 1 comes to a shocking end.
Oh, so we're finishing Season 1?
Season 1 of the comics.
Can't wait.
So,
can't wait.
This is going to be a really exciting one. If you're like Ricky and you really can't wait, maybe you want to not wait 2 weeks, here's something interesting. You don't have to. Go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcasts, or you can find it on Twitter or our Facebook. Be direct linked to it. You can actually get this episode a whole week early. Brag to everybody about how you know what's going on. All it takes is a nice little, I don't know, not necessarily a donation, but a pledge to us on there. You become a patron, you support us, and then we will get you this a week early on patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcasts. Until next time, in 2 weeks, when we read Morning Glories Volume 4, Truants, we will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to this MVP